traitors!
Frank Herbert's Dune is a massive epic. It started with the one book and stretched out to 6 over the course of 2 decades. But when it came to turning this acclaimed sci-fi novel into a movie, the project took quite a few twists and turns. Before the Lynch version, there was a very famous Jodorowsky version that never got made, and before that, the Arthur P. Jacobs version, and even before that, the Roger Corman version, but that never took off the ground. The epic sci-fi landed in the laps of eccentric director David Lynch, and in 1984, the best year in movie history, we finally saw Dune on the big screen. But is it any good? I'm Mephisto, like, share, and subscribe because this is my review of the movie Dune.
I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer.
If you managed to dodge the Denis Villeneuve version that got made in 2021 and in 2024 respectively, the story is set in the far distant future. Space traveling is done via a mechanism called folding of space, which is done by a special navigator that uses a substance called the spice melange. This spice can only be found and mined on one single planet in the galaxy. The planet is called Arrakis. It is a desert planet, hence the name Dune. The story actually begins when the Emperor decides that House Atreides will replace their rivals House Harkonnen in the control and mining operation on Arrakis as a part of a peace treaty to settle a long-lasting feud between the houses. Duke Leto and his family make their way to the planet, expecting foul play from their rivals, the Harkonnens. Things go rather smoothly. There's some spies and assassins left behind, but that was all expected. The Duke's son, Paul, is fascinated with the planet of Arrakis and its people, the Fremen. Paul is very talented, trained by the House Man-at-Arms Gurney Halleck in battle, and trained by his mother, a Bene Gesserit priestess, in the weirding ways.
She's using the voice. No.
Some strength. Surprising.
Paul has grown up to be a deserving heir to the Duke's throne. When the Duke goes out to inspect the mining operations, Paul accompanies him together with Dr. Liet Kynes. This is the way Paul learns all about the worms of Arrakis. Dr. Kynes is even impressed in the way Paul seems to slip into his special still suit so quickly and effortlessly.
You've worn a still suit before.
No.
Your suit is fitted desert fashion. Who told you how to do that?
No one. It seemed the proper way.
You see, there is a prophecy on Arrakis that is known to the Fremen. A foreigner will one day come and he will know the Fremen ways without being taught. And he will be the Messiah that will lead them to freedom. The local Fremen who worked at the Arakeen Palace already observe Paul and think that he is the one.
We Fremen pay our debts.
A Fremen.
It is known to us that you've a traitor in your midst.
But there is a secret brewing. The Harkonnens have a traitor in the Atreides midst, and as the Atreides house settles in, the trap is sprung. The traitor incapacitates the shield wall and Duke Leto and opens the gates to the Harkonnen attack that wipes House Atreides, kills the Duke, and captures both Paul and his mother.
Take them to the desert, as the traitor suggested. The worms will destroy the evidence. Their bodies must never be found.
Luckily, the two escape and find refuge with the deep desert Fremen. There, Paul learns all the ways of the Fremen and in turn teaches them the weirding ways in order for them to free themselves from the oppression and take revenge on House Harkonnen and their secret benefactors.
We will kill until no Harkonnen breathes Arakeen air.
This is, of course, a very rough summary of a massively detailed book that has a lot of intrigue, politic, and mysticism. Trying to adapt such an epic is almost a monumental task. David Lynch's original cut was actually rejected outright for not being commercial enough. In fact, David Lynch was so annoyed by this movie, there is no version of the movie that he actually likes. So much so that he's renounced of being even put on the credits on the extended cut that was put on TV.
But sire, we can't leave all this spice.
Damn the spice! Get out of there!
When I watched this movie for the very first time, it was way before I read the books. It was such a departure from the sci-fi I used to watch, which was Star Wars and Star Trek. But right from the first viewing, I liked it. So much so that I've read all the books. I believe that Lynch, even though he was limited in the effects he had available and the budget he had available, managed to capture the heart of the story of Dune. Of course, he had to change some things because it is very difficult to visually represent the voice. If you read the books properly, it describes more of a martial art rather than a fighting weapon. Regardless, Lynch did try, in my opinions, to go a little bit more commercial in the presentation and having a laser type weapon to show the audience and to describe why the Emperor is so afraid of House Atreides. So in Lynch's version, the Emperor not only fears the charisma of Duke Leto and House Atreides, he also fears this new weapon technology and the army that the House Atreides has.
The Atreides house is building a secret army using a technique unknown to us, a technique involving sound.
In terms of casting, I think Lynch nailed every single role as close as you can get. The highlight being Kyle MacLachlan. Even though Kyle is so much more older than Paul Atreides in the books, his smooth baby face sold him as young. But when Paul needed to be more commanding and powerful, MacLachlan switched gears and made the confident older Paul feel like the Kwisatz Haderach that he truly was.
A storm is coming. Our storm. And when it arrives, it will shake the universe.
I feel a little bit bad for Sean Young that her role was significantly reduced from the books to the screenplay, and then furthermore into the theatrical cut. She did have a little bit more screen time if you've seen the extended cut or the Space Diver cut, but not by much.
Could I be known as Paul Muad'Dib?
You are Paul Muad'Dib.
I, of course, will happily recommend this movie to anyone. Whether you've read the books or not, whether you've seen the new Denis Villeneuve version or not, it is a great sci-fi story playing out on screen. It is not a space opera like Star Wars, and it is not fully grounded like Star Trek, but it is its own thing. It has a much more complex story, but in the heart of it, it is the basic human struggle for power, resources, and control. It is full of backstabbing, mystery, mysticism, and magic. There are several different factions, all pulling in so many different directions, and all of them are trying to get their way. I recently watched the Space Diver cut, which added an extra hour to the original cut and about 10 more minutes to the extended cut or the TV cut. And I have to say, it felt like a breeze to watch. You understand more about this world and the settings behind it, but it is not bogged down with too much information that you don't need. And before we close out this video, I have to mention the soundtrack written by Toto, who brought in that extra little thing to this movie. It's a combination between the symphony and classical rock takes. That blend elevated the score and set it apart from any other score that you get from a sci-fi movie, especially when you look at the two big franchises.
Father, the sleeper has awakened!
I thank you for watching, and remember, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. I'll see you on the next video.